Okay, next thing we're going to talk about, at least I'm going to talk about, whether or not you listen is completely up to you. I've lost control. Oh well. All right, so that was anti-ice. Now let's talk about de-icing. All right, that would, well, in a sense, allows ice to form and then removes it, and then removes it. But that's not entirely true. And I told you about the boots that have to inflate, and thanks to Tony for making sure I had that right. You do want a little bit of ice to form, because if you just turn it on prematurely, you can get a little bridging of ice. So thus the statement allows ice to form, then removes it. There are some de-icing systems that you can turn on, and it won't have a problem. But before I get into that, I forgot to mention this, because those guys interrupted me. Number one, Sherman said TKS fluid actually has some flammability. So I wanted to know, how flammable is TKS fluid? And it is flammable, and this page is kind of interesting because it is flammable under the correct conditions. Well, everything is under the correct conditions. But the flash point of fluid is much greater than reported, but it's still relatively low, about 150 degrees Fahrenheit. So definitely is. Then I wondered, why is it that? Well, because it has ethylene glycol, isopropyl alcohol, and pure water. Well, pure water is highly flammable of that mixture. No, but what is ethylene glycol?
Sure.
No.
Antifreeze?
Yeah, antifreeze. Antifreeze. So I'm sure antifreeze has got some flammability at a certain point. I don't know. But everything does. But definitely isopropyl alcohol is right back where we started. So why does it have isopropyl alcohol? Well, it keeps the ethylene glycol from freezing. That's not true. All right. I don't know why I told you that, because that was just an awful thing to say. Then I saw this, which I thought was kind of cool. This is slow motion of TKS fluid coming out. Look at all those little holes. That's so cool.
I hate that. Turn off lights.
Oh, it's sweating.
Yeah. It's like a fat kid on the playground. I mean, it's... Anyway, there you go. That's your TKS wing. The prop does not have little holes all over it. I got to tell you guys all this stuff. It has the feed shoes. Remember? Okay. So don't go telling everybody, oh, Kevin said the prop has little holes in it and it sweats out of the... Because it doesn't.
The blade, or the wing.
The wing. We're talking about wing. We're talking about the... Okay, back to de-icing. Props. Okay. So on props, we're not going to have the TKS. We're going to have de-icing. What are we going to have this time?
Alcohol.
That would be anti-ice.
Oh. Bubbles.
The little leading edge wing, or the thing that inflates. Yeah. Now the hard part about that is that you have to get hoses that attach to the blades that are spinning around. So the hose has to be really long. So what you'll see in the wing is a hose reel that is huge. And so you can go like X number of miles, then you have to stop and run the parade backwards to rewind that stuff.
That's why we got the reverse.
Oh, the beta ring. Hard heat.
Good. Keep throwing out words. That's always helpful.
I mean, the one prop that we were looking at has two.
No.
No.
Okay.
All right, so let's make sure we're all on the same page here. Propellers do not, I'm being serious about this now, do not have inflatable boots on them, because you can't run a pneumatic hose to a propeller spinning around in circles and expect that to work for very long.
Can't they do something like how they do the BMX bikes? How the thing spins? The little ring.
Okay. Good, he's thinking, but that's a cable with the ring that does this. You still got to get the why don't you run it? Why don't you run it through the crankshaft and then send it out?
Catch that point.
The Humvees, they have the tire inflation system, and it goes through the hub.
Yeah.
That is
true.
I like it, but that's true.
Yeah.
Look at that guy. Who's never been in the middle?
That sends an electric current out and warms up a boot.
Oh, don't be stupid.
Fucking
Yeah.
Like,
You're talking about the CTI
hot clean air,
system.
poured it out. It doesn't have
Still
to-
can't do that.
No.
No.
I'm going with hers.
Like,
Okay, so we're all clear. There is no such thing as pneumatic boots
Nope.
on props.
Yeah.
So don't say that
Just
no
on the
more.
one.
Because everybody says that. Half the people who did the oral on the blue prop with the slinger ring, it's well, yeah, it inflates and explain that to me. I don't know. I just thought you'd be happy if I said that. All right. What?
Carb heat was not a good one.
Carburetor heat goes to the carburetor.
Yeah, but like bleed air, you know, you get the heat that also goes.
Just blow it at the prop.
Yeah.
Can you just direct your exhaust at all?
Well, if you did that towards a prop, that would be forward thrust, and you'd slow down.
Okay.
Well, I mean, really though, how you gonna get? Well, it's actually the base, so it's just you can't. So, what was your crazy idea?
If you had some kind of electrical current,
Some sort of electrical current? So
I mean,
different kinds.
you'd have
AC or DC.
your slip rings creating a magnetic
Like that?
to electrical-
Like that.
Like that, yeah. So when you see boots on a propeller, it's going to be one of two things. Either the feed shoes, and if you have feed shoes, look for a little pipe where the fluid will come out. That's feed shoes. Or it's going to have heated boots on it.
Like
All right.
the turbine
Like
that we have. Okay.
in the turbo, I thought about using that, and I thought, no, I'm not gonna. Okay, so these are cool, but they're not as simple as you might think. Because of the amount of electricity that it draws, you guys are always doing your own thing over there. Because of the amount of electricity that it draws, you can't just turn them on. They have to be turned on and sequenced. So this is what this is showing. So number one, you've got power source through an ammeter. The reason why you want an ammeter is because you want to know as the pilot that it's working. It's working because it draws current. If it's drawing current, then it's working. Follow? For those of you that have electricity, oh yeah, we follow. Okay, so watch how it goes. So it's going to come up, and this is a sequencer. And so, enlarge a little bit. So the sequencer has a little finger, much like the magneto, but it actually touches. So current's going to come through. Now it's going to go to this block right here. And as long as this finger is touching this block, it's going to go through this wire to a brush block. And a brush block, for those of you who have electricity, is nothing more than what's inside of an alternator. A slip ring and a carbon brush that's rubbing against it. All right, so we've got three of them. 1, 2, 3. So it's going to come up. It's going, yeah, you got to have positive and negative. So it's going to come up, and it's going to energize this ring. This ring is going to come down, and I don't know what they're representing. I guess the outboard of this prop. So we have a twin engine. So this prop gets outboard, outboard. Phase 2, this prop gets inboard, inboard. See the little finger went over here? Then we're going to go phase 3, probably, what's that for? Outboard, outboard, and then inboard, inboard. And what you're going to see on the ammeter, and you turn it on, boom, you're going to see amps, 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 and then it's going to go into this space right here. You'll see the amps fall to 0, then pick back up. Back to 0, pick back up. So when we do annual inspections on props that have these, or 100-hour, it's always best to use 2 people. And I've heard so many stories about people destroying very, very expensive things with these systems. Heated windshields especially. Accidentally leave them on, they blister and pop. And like I said, I remember when I was in A&P school, so we're talking about, you know, late 80s, early 90s, my friend's dad worked at Delta, and they had to replace a heated windshield on probably 737 or something back then, and they had dropped it. It was $50,000 for that half of the window, not counting labor and everything. So, yeah, it's very, very dangerous as an A&P to touch anything anti-ice that's heated, because if you accidentally leave it on, you get to buy a new one.
It's just like cars.
Yeah, and
Anything with those heat strips in them. It's expensive.
like what? How's a heat strip?
My mom's car got broken into when I was in San Francisco. And the rear.
Oh,
the windows have.
yeah,
$500.
yeah.
Just for the rear windshield.
Okay, so when we do these, what we would always do is have two of us. One person would go in the cockpit, hand on the switch, turn it on, and then one person out front, feel. You'd get the sequence. Okay, I got outboard, now I got inboard, go to the next prop, outboard, inboard, off, and you'd off, master off, everything off, and then the other person would check it. Off for sure? Yes, for sure it's off. So,
How often does that turn?
So it's like how fast?
how fast?
How fast, right?
I think it's in my notes. I want to say, just off the top of my head, that's about 2 minutes.
Oh.
Let me see if I say it.
Per block or for the whole cycle?
Yeah, I was right. Each element's about 30 seconds.
Oh, nice.
Okay. De-icing allows accomplished by the use of heated boots. Accomplished by the use of heated boots. Bonded to the prop. That means glued. As ice heats up, ice is melted. At the surface. Melted at the surface. And thrown off by centrifugal force.
Do these boots affect like the aerodynamics of the prop at all?
I would think myself a little tiny bit, but they're at the down the
They're
hub.
base.
They're at the hub.
Yeah.
But not as much as ice does. So there you go.
Yeah.
Operation. When system is turned on, is turned on. Current travels. Notice I didn't say voltage travels. Current travels from the control unit to a brush block. The brush block that rides on a rotating slip ring. Power is sent from brush block. Power is sent from brush block through slip ring to prop. Blades have a bonded heating element. That heats with current flow. You know, it's a crying shame that you guys never really got to experience the era of the waterbed. But you did.
No, I did not. No, no.
See, you did not. Tony?
Tried it.
No. Mike?
I've slept.
Mike? Louis? Louis?
Mike.
Hello. Did you have one? Do you have one?
No, I did not have one.
Are you kidding?
I've slept on one.
No.
Fucking
So
weird.
am I the only person in here? You had a waterbed and you slept on the waterbed.
Yes, I had one, I slept on it, and I punctured it.
Well, we all
Oh,
did. We all have. Yes, my wife let the cat, she was showing me a little bit. Look at the cat, it's so cute. I was changing the sheets, there's little bubbles, and it was running around. In the middle of the night, it was like a TKS leading edge, man. So for those of you that have not experienced a waterbed, you cannot sleep on a waterbed that is not heated because it is horrible. It's like trying to sleep in a cold pool. So you have a heated strip down there. And you would set it for, usually it's got to be above body temperature. It's cold, so it's, usually 98, 99, 100 degrees. So when I was a kid, I popped the waterbed, and king size, mind you. And
King size bed as a kid?
yeah, well,
Anyways.
You're a kid.
My stepdad's explicit instructions, and much like me, instructions must be exact. Now you know where I get it from. If I say to do this, his exact words were, turn it all the way down. We drained the bed and had the heater. Turn it up. So I thought I should unplug it, but rule number one, don't argue back. Number two, do what you were told. So I turned it all the way down. Well, didn't have any water on it. We went to bed that night and woke up to my room on fire because that thing heated up the plywood and started a fire in the bedroom. So heating elements get hot.
Well, that was his fault. He didn't tell you to unplug it.
I made sure that he knew that. Yep. Okay. Because you know me. Because the heating element draws a lot of Kermit. Because the heating element draws a lot of current. Draws a lot of current. Comma, there is a sequencer to heat only one section at a time. To heat only one section at a time. Example. Left outboard, then 1 second, S-E-C-O-N-D, second. That's 1 second, null. What does null mean?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Then left inboard, 1 second, null. Then right outboard, 1 second, null. Then what? Right inboard. Right inboard, and then 1 second, null. So each element is heated for 15 to 30 seconds. There should be a switch that is high and low. So high would be 30 seconds each blade, low would be 15. Let me see, boots. Boots that become overheated can delaminate from the props. You gotta be careful. So boots that become too hot can delaminate from the prop. So now you got this rubber flappy thing out on your prop. You don't want that. So operational modes. can include full ice. So full, that should actually be in one. Full deice. So it's spring-loaded to the off position. That must they switch the spring load to off position and must be held on. So if you can do that, you gotta hang on to it. So it's going to spring load. So the full deice position be off, but you can hold it. I should write it different. You can just hold it to full deice. Hopefully that made sense. And this overrides the sequencer and heats all elements at once. That's kind of like your, oh crap, we're icing up. I wasn't paying attention. We got ice built up. I can't put the sequencer on and wait for that prop over there for 2 minutes to get some heat on that thing. We're just going to go for it. So you got to hold it on, and you're just going to heat everything up. We have fast cycle, and we have slow cycle.
Fast cycle is
I knew somebody's going to ask me that, and I'm thinking, I got to think this through. Tony, fast cycle and slow cycle. So fast would be short periods of time on each blade, but you would get each blade in shorter time. Slow cycle would be a longer time for each blade, but it would take longer. So I don't honestly know which one you'd want to pick for what situation.
I would think faster would be better because if it starts de-icing on like one blade,
Yeah.
it starts getting uneven or something.
Yeah, so fast would be like more ice.
yeah.
Like you got a significant icing.
yeah.
You can't wait because that one's going to cool down. That would be my thought, but I don't know for a fact.
Or if you catch it
But then
fast
also-
enough.
Say what?
Or if you catch it early enough, you can do the fast cycle and it just keeps the ice up
Yeah.
as it goes
But then also, if you do the slow cycle, you have more time.
More time, it's
on
going to
the-
get hotter.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's more of an engineering kind of thing. Like,
You have to read the POH. I bet it'd tell you, but I don't have a POH for this system. And thankfully we're mechanics. We don't need to know.
Yeah.
That's dumb pilot stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully you never try. So your POH is good.
exactly.
All right, did that. There we go. So there's my ammeter, or instead of an ammeter, I could just have a prop deice, which is really just an ammeter telling you high and low. And we can zoom in on here. Here's the wires coming in. Obviously, this brush block has got to be behind this because these are going to spin around. Honestly, most of the time, these are nylon tied, very tight around here.
Why?
Because centrifugal force will tend to pull them away from the... That's not a good thing. Oh yeah, propeller is just a big fan in front of the plane used to keep the pilot cool. When it stops, you can actually watch the pilot start sweating. Notice that.
Cool.
Sometimes they just pull stuff off the end. That's a cool plane. I think that's like a,
What is-
I don't know, Skybolt or
what's
something like
green-
that.
Yeah, what is that green?
I think it's an anti-theft device.
College offers their
Yeah.
wheel.
Yeah, like a club. But
Yeah. It locks the prop onto the.
Oh, you can-
collie, or what?
oh no, you can try starting that. It'll shake you. It'll shake
Since
you.
you can't lock the cockpit.
Yeah, it'll shake you to pieces. It is true that the Germans actually. Oh, that's a gull wing Stenson. Those are cool. Stenson Reliant. The Germans did actually work with single bladed propellers and felt that they were, the theory being that they would be more efficient because this blade is not running in the wake of the other one. There's the propeller governor right there, so it still work even though you have two counterweights. But obviously that's fake because that wouldn't work. But that's real. So that I saw a little thing on that article that is an actual flying aircraft with the
Amputee?
no, that's single bladed prop. Yeah,
No,
I think that's it. That's it.
it's-